Pastor Bob, this church is really tight. It's supposed to be in shoulder pads. Let me say, first and foremost, I have to believe, just being here at this moment, looking back over my life, that even when I didn't know, when I wasn't in a relationship with Christ, that God had so much for me. I've learned to look at myself as Jesus did. He looked at himself, and it was one man, and from that one came many. And looking back at my life, I have the same opportunities. I didn't get the full glory of some of these other guys getting drafted really high and being able to play, for 12, 13, 14 years. But even before I really came to Christ or knew Christ, I saw that I was blessed. Looking back at my life, being, which my wife hates to say, for me to say this, but I always say, spending time in jail, not knowing what direction I was going to go, not knowing where my next meal was going to come from, because at points in times homeless, but always knowing something in my heart was telling me I can play football. I just knew it. I don't know how I knew it. I just knew. I knew that I could play. I knew that that's what my gift was. I just believed it, even when it didn't look like it, or I thought that maybe I wasn't supposed to play. But it was just, that was something that I knew I could stand on. I believed no matter what my situation was, in and out of jail or homeless, the subject of football came up. Oh, I can play, and I'm better than that guy you see on TV. Like, I had no qualms about saying it. One of the guys that was an idol of mine, Chester McLaughlin, played for the Oakland Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs. And I remember sitting in one of my upstate visits, watching the Chiefs play, and I kept thinking, I'm better than him. I don't know why I said it. I just kept saying I was better than him. And so, fast forward through my life, I get to college. My beautiful wife, and we had that little big singing daughter right there. I played my 3 years at Langston, and I'm going through the whole draft process, and I just couldn't understand why I didn't get drafted higher. I was ranked higher than a lot of the guys that got drafted before me. But I remember, I don't know if she remembers, but when I got drafted, we had $46.17 the night before we got drafted. And so I'm in college, married with a daughter, and $46.17. So, and it's crazy. It ended up being that I didn't get drafted higher, because I probably would have gotten in trouble with all that money, without a doubt. But I ended up going to a place that the coach cared for me. Not just cared for me because of what I could do, but he cared for me as a person. And I still talk to him to this day. I literally talk to Coach Patterson probably once a month. And I have ever since I left the Vikings, when he brought me to the Cowboys. Oh, God, that hurt. But, it's just looking back at my life, all the things I've gotten to do, even when not knowing who God was really, not knowing what he was to me or what he was doing for me. I've gotten to travel the world to play football. I've been to probably 12 different countries playing football, being able to talk to kids about football. It's just looking back going, wow, God really, he wanted me to be here to have this conversation with this kid, to talk about whatever. And that's one of the great things I like about what I get to do. Up until recently, I've partnered with a new company, but I own Fourth and Inches Sports Performance, where I tutored high school, college, and pro athletes high school kids to earn scholarships to college, college kids to earn an opportunity to get drafted in the NFL. And then again, I go back to Jesus and his disciples. He started with him, and then because of him, he multiplied. And I get to see that in what I do. I started with a few kids, and I really didn't even want to do high school kids. I just wanted to train NFL guys when I first started. And my coach in college, who I call my dad, Willie Anderson, told me one day, he goes, "How can you keep something that doesn't belong to you?" Now, what do you mean? He was like, "I taught you, so you need to teach." And so that's how I've seen what I do multiply. Started with a few kids. Now I think I'm over 700 high school kids, over 200 college kids, and probably 100 NFL players. I've trained Super Bowl champions, Pro Bowlers, and I've had to have tough conversations, and which is, for me, it helps because I've had to have tough conversations about life, not just about football. Yeah, we talk about football all the time, but with a lot of my athletes, we talk about life. We talk about things that are going on now. And we talk about, well, dang, coach, one of my guys goes, "Dang, coach, you told us about this particular issue that's, rampant right now. You told us this 10 years ago." And so it's good to see that what I'm saying is being listened to, and that they're hearing it and they're seeing it, and it's affecting their life. Now, me, by no means am I perfect. Let my wife tell it. I'm horrible. She loves me, but I'm horrible. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm hard-headed, I'm stubborn, according to my children. But the biggest thing that I've learned through this whole process is grace. That is what the impact that God has had, is that I can look back over my life and I just see tons and dump trucks load of grace when I didn't deserve it. When I went to the first university in Atlanta where I met my beautiful wife, I get kicked out, and God reroutes me. He goes, "Nope, I know I want you to play football, so I'm going to send you somewhere else." So he sends me to Willie Anderson out in Langston, Oklahoma, which I didn't never even know where Langston, Oklahoma was until he called me and said, "Hey, I want you to come play football for me." And I said no. I was going to stay in Atlanta with my then fiance. I was going to go to Georgia Tech, and I thought I had it all figured out. I'm going to go to Georgia Tech. I'm going to play. I'm going to marry her, and then I'm going to make a bunch of money in the NFL. No. I ended up being put on a bus going to Langston, Oklahoma, getting picked up in Guthrie, Oklahoma, which I never knew existed, to play for the man I call my dad, Willie Anderson. And that came about because he told my mom, he promised her that I'm going to treat him like he's my son. And he's never welched on that promise. And that means a lot to me because God treats us as his children. And so he gives us grace and blessings that we don't deserve. That our very breath, sitting here breathing, is an abomination before God because of sin that's born in our heart. But his grace pours over us, wipes us clean, gives us an opportunity to grow closer to him. And so for me, football has been God's way of speaking to me. I believe that God talks to everybody through your gift, whatever that gift may be. And I think for me, my gift and his communication to me has been football. And so I've been able to do just amazing things through the grace. I mean, I fail daily, hourly, minutely, most times. And it's just being it's exciting to see what God continues to do in my life through the athletes that he brings for me to talk to train, to pour into their lives, because he sent me so many people that poured into my life. I mean, just things that I've learned on a daily basis or that I didn't know, that God is always talking. And I was hard-headed. I didn't always listen. I was I got it figured out. I want to do it the way I want to do it. And what I've learned and what I've tried to teach my children is that it may not be going the way you want it, but God's in control. And it may not turn out the way you want it to be. But at the end of the day, God knows what's best for you. He made you. He created you. He knows you intimately. He knew you before you were born. And that's one of the things that I've learned to think about a lot when things aren't going the way I want, or things I may do something that I shouldn't do. And then I have to come back and say that by God's grace that I'm here. And so the biggest thing that I want you to take away from me is that no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, God knows. And it may not be your best situation, but if you trust in God, that he'll put you in the best situation that's possible for you. That's all I got.